Oh, it's good that we waited. We've had a few more that have joined us, which is good. By the way, Trevor, there might be some people on here who don't know who you are, by the way.
Uh-oh.
So I think, would you like to do a little quick intro?
Yeah, Trevor Cutmore. I started in property about 25 years ago. I've done initially, I bought two properties the wrong way, and it was a scam. So that forced me to go and get some education, which I did, and I became a specialist in options. So I managed to swim away from those problems, and then I started to do light refurbs, large refurbs, conversions, and then went on to build houses as well. And so my knowledge in property is very much more on the sort of building side, etc. But I've also done a huge amount of training as well. And I've run property meets all over the country in London, Black Country, and around, and been a speaker on many forums. Is that all right, Lizzie?
Yeah, the reason why I asked Trevor to join is because he's been assisting me like throughout this social housing journey that we've been on. Right, more in the background, but he's there. He's been assisting with a lot of bits and pieces. Right, so we've got 2 more minutes to go. So I'm staying true to my word. We'll start at 12:05. So people are still joining, and I can see actually the numbers have gone up again. So people are still joining as we speak. And I don't want you guys to miss out on anything because I can't well, I can't explain how excited I am. So I hope it's coming through to tell you a bit about what's been going on and this phenomenal opportunity that we are involved with at the moment. And there is a very I feel like really happy in the space at the moment in terms of what we're doing on the property side. There's a bigger purpose. Obviously, there's the property, the compliance, the monetary requirements, which we'll go through. But it feels very satisfying to be able to provide accommodation like this to people who really need it and to provide it at a really good standard and build communities. And I'll go into that in a bit more detail. So 1 more minute to go, and then we'll begin.
Happy New Year, everyone.
Well, hopefully 2026 is going to be a much better year than 2025. 2025 has been a very tough year, I would say. Maybe the toughest year, I would say, for me
Yes,
personally.
and me personally as well.
As I hope everybody's. I've got a question. Please feel free to put it as a comment. How has your 2025 been in terms of generally well-being, health, and business as well? Do let us know. Yeah.
Yeah, I've got.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah, do let us know. Okay, let me start. So today's webinar is about social housing, and this is really a niche. I didn't know too much about it before I went into it. I did a lot of meetings, a lot of research, to get into this space, and I'm going to share with you what as much as I can. Yeah. So let me tell you a little bit about me in case you don't know already. But I'm assuming because you're on my Facebook, everybody, that you know a little bit about me. But just in case you don't, I'm Leslie Tao. And I started doing rent to rent in 2011. So I've had over 10 years. So 10 years, a decade, right? I have I've got over a decade worth of experience doing rent to rents, like different rental models. So I've done Airbnb, I've done HMOs, I've done it in different countries, I've done corporate lets, and we are still in those kind of spaces with some of our properties in Cambridge, although we've had to reduce the scale massively, and I'll tell you why in a bit. My background, though, and this seems so long ago, is that I used to work as a lawyer for a Magic Circle law firm. So that's my background. So I did all the studying in law. I did a master's in law. I work the hours. I work for a really good law firm, and but I found that I needed to just get out and do some business because I felt a bit trapped, well, very trapped. Although it was a very good law firm, and I had a really outstanding boss and a really nice team actually. But for me, I wanted to get out and do some more because I knew that there was another sort of life, financial life when you run your own business, right? So that's how I got into rent to rent. And I actually started my rent to rent business. The first one I picked up was actually in Dubai. So that was very interesting. And I just want to put that out there because rent to rent is an acquisition model. So that's where we rent a property from a landlord who've given us consents and the contracts to then rent it out for a different rental model. It could be short-term rental, service accommodation. It could be for HMOs if it's that sort of property. And now it is also suitable as an acquisition model for social housing. Yeah. And I have built 6 to 7 figure businesses on a few occasions now. And this entry into the social housing market would be no different, I would say. Yeah, they need some time. So, what happened to me, guys, is at the end of 2023, I was diagnosed with, to put it more accurately, borderline stage 4 bowel cancer. And I literally had a fight of my life. Actually, Trevor was with me. With my parents, we were in Chinatown in London and having lunch with my parents, and I got my diagnosis. And I wanted to act strong in front of my parents, and Trevor's like one of my very good friends. Did I act strong, Trevor? I can't remember now because it was so shocking getting the news.
Yeah, you did.
Yeah, so it was like got the news, and I thought, be transparent and tell everybody what's happened. My parents are really strong. They're not very dramatic people. They're quite calm, and just told me I need to do what I need to do, and they'll be there to support me fully. So after that, this is before I turn into a pescatarian. I think I had a mouthful of dim sum afterwards, but it was a really hard pill to swallow. So that's
Well,
what happened to me.
so, Leslie, you should tell people that, at Christmas, you'd started treatment and then something massively went wrong and you had emergency surgery, which you had a 50-50 chance of making it through. And it was very touch and go. I was there on Boxing Day to see you, which you probably won't remember anyway. But
I do remember it was a
it
very
was
chilly
traumatic.
Christmas. Yeah,
Yeah,
it's a bit
yeah, yeah.
chilly. I
Very,
would,
very.
yeah, I don't want to sort of rush past a health thing, but I want you all to know that I put this on my social media post on Facebook that we get sick. It's really hard to have a clean bill of health throughout your entire life. So, if I had to advise me again, and I did have this, thankfully, I would say make sure you ramp up on your critical illness insurance because you can also still be here to enjoy the payout with your family and also and hopefully survive whatever critical illness you've been diagnosed with. So I want to make that, I'm going to keep on harping that message out because I think it will help people, it will help you. Um, so luckily, after lots of surgery, because I had quite a few rounds of surgery and chemo treatment, I've luckily survived. Yeah, and I'm healthy and well at the moment. But I need to make sure that I have a better lifestyle. That's all than I did have before. So I wanted to share that. My last major surgery was actually, it feels so long ago, but it wasn't. It was about 6 months ago. So in May 2025. And that's also after the surgery, is when I began to see signs. There was a massive crash for us over this summer. So our rent to rent business in Cambridge came crashing down. And due to various factors, to be honest, guys, I've listed a few because I want to talk about it. It's good to be transparent. Firstly, the economy. I don't know whether you guys have felt it if you're in the property or in the business or even at work. We're in a recession at the moment and the economy is not doing too good. Like everything is more expensive. The flow of money is a little bit harder and slower, or not a little bit, because I've seen quite a lot of businesses go down under and close down. Um, I've put the government because the government implementing certain rules and regulations haven't really helped at all for small business owners like us, and especially in the property industry. There's lots of landlords exiting the UK and moving to places like Dubai or Portugal or Thailand. I'm just naming a few that have come up quite often. For us, what we experienced was because we in Cambridge, we scaled down a lot now, but we had quite a big portfolio. We had delayed rental payments from a lot of our corporate tenants who had more than one property with us. Some of them had quite a few. And so delayed rent payments, and then a few of them started going down under. And then at one point, there was a mass exodus of all of this. Also, one of our target markets that we've been in for years as a family in Cambridge is the international student market. And we've also seen the sector really struggle 2025. And then, obviously, on more of a personal level, there was me recovering from my critical illness and all this was going down. Now, the reason why I wanted to tell you about this is because as an entrepreneur, we always find ways to pivot. Yeah. For me, I have landlords and investors that I care about so much. And some of them are relationships that I've harnessed over years. So, apart from the medical side, this financial recovery has been the fight of my life because it's been jaw dropping to some extent because I've never had something like this happen to us before, especially being in the rent to rent space in different countries since 2011. And also, I just got better, right? So I had to make a decision about, what do I do? So Trevor knows, I had my back really against the wall and the room was shrinking and I wasn't sure which way to go. What can I do? What can I do to, recover our business and to get us back on the right track. So I luckily have good relationships with people I work with, and one of them's shown me a contract that she has with a housing provider in Birmingham in this instance. So I had a look at the contract and it looked very lucrative. So I did a deep dive into Birmingham and into the Midlands on the social housing model to find out what is this about? Why don't I have this option in Cambridge? And why have we never even heard of it? So I contacted the council in Cambridge as well, and I asked around these different models. What are they? How do we get involved with? This is for Cambridge specifically because before I scaled down our portfolio, we had quite a few properties available for emergency, could be adapted for emergency housing, temporary accommodation, and supported accommodation as well. But in Cambridge, they don't do the same model as they do in the Midlands. So this particular model in terms of supported accommodations, so supported exempt accommodation is specific to certain cities, which we'll go into in a bit more detail in a bit. Yeah, but we are also this is the exciting part. We are also on a scheme which is nationwide as well. Yeah, so that's exciting part. And where I thought, I've just been, we're in the process of recovery, and I've been through like the worst summer really. And I thought, if I was struggling, if you're a landlord or if you're in business or you want to get involved, I need to share this because at least, you're aware of this model as well for those that are new and for those that aren't. It's probably a different conversation because we can talk about things in more detail. So my social housing journey, the pinnacle. And sorry, this is a picture of me with like zero makeup on. I thought I'll stick it on there because it was literally back to basics in some ways. So I remember I've been back to basics. This is the third time in the rent to rent world. The first time when I started was in Dubai. So I remember having the car jammed with furniture when I was in Dubai setting up our shared accommodation there. And then when I came back to the UK in 2019, there's also a memory of a picture somewhere. I need to find the other pictures so we put them side by side because it's quite funny. And now it's 2025. Yeah. So also there's a bunch of beddings and stuff jammed in the background of this car. And Trevor was pivotal to this because he was helping me deck out all these houses that we've got in the Midlands. Yeah. So what's happened is that we are now working with one of the biggest and well-established social housing associations in the Midlands. They're also known as RSLs, which stands for Registered Social Landlord. Yeah, they are a charity, so they're registered as a CIC, and they've been around for over 10 years. So this is not a new model for them. Yeah, so I must emphasize that they've been doing it for a long time now. Yeah. But it is very niche, and I suppose not a lot of operators talk openly about this because it is a very niche field, and it really is about who you know, yeah, and the support along the way. So I'm calling this joyous learning because although the journey's been really tough, I've been away from my children who are quite young. I'm in the Midlands like every week, apart from probably last week because it was Christmas. So I've been in Birmingham every week, up and down, at least once or twice in the week, and it's been, long hours as well. But it's joyous learning because, apart from the monetary aspect, I can see how this type of accommodation is really needed and how it is impacting. In a positive way, how it is needed in the UK and how we are impacting people's lives in a big way, a massive way. And that's something I've never experienced before in the private accommodation field. In the private accommodation field, it was about, to some extent, because I was at the forefront of driving service accommodation when I came on board in 2019, that niche. And that was about providing amazing looking properties with services, right? And the lovely thing about what I'm able to do here is transfer those sort of skills, the knowledge and experience over to this different sector that needs it. Yeah. So monetary wise, you're looking at £2,000 to £4,000 net being achieved per property. And lots of people slash businesses are building six-figure plus incomes from the social housing model. And that's purely because each property, the yields are so high. Because I think if you think about this is in another way, okay? Think about it as service accommodation in social housing. Yeah, but obviously the property doesn't need to be up to such a high spec. But there's lots of compliance involved. Okay, so the social housing models, rental models available that we are part of. There's one called supported exempt accommodation, and there's another one called the transitional model. And with this supported exempt accommodation, I'm so sorry, guys. I'm just going to let one of my dogs out. I'll be back. Sorry, I just had to kick one of the pugs out because you saw a bird. So with the supported exempt accommodation, now this is something truly specific to Birmingham. Yeah, we are aware of other cities that have this model, but this includes an element of support for the tenants, which is about an hour a week. It's not a care worker, but it's a support worker that goes in to assist the tenants with basically trying to check on them, make sure they're okay, and be a point of contact and support for them to basically encourage them to live independent lives at some point. So that's what we're working towards. So this model is specific to Birmingham only, and the people that qualify for supported exempt accommodation are people on universal credit, but they need to go for an assessment to make sure that they do need that support element. Okay, and with this particular model. Basically, we all get paid out via the housing association, but it is the Birmingham Council that essentially do the payouts. Now, there's also this very interesting model that we're also part of, like the scheme. It's called the transitional model. Yeah. And this is a really interesting social housing model in terms of it's not just limited to Birmingham. It's been rolled out nationwide at the moment. So in every major city this can apply. Yeah. And this is when people go from supported exempt accommodation onto more independent accommodation. Yeah. So they still need to be on universal credit, but they need to be working at least 16 hours a week, or they can also qualify for this type of housing if they are on universal credit and something known as PIP. Yeah. Trevor, what because you've also been privy to these meetings we've been having and seeing this work at first hand. Can you give some more comments on these two schemes?
Okay, the supportive exempt accommodation, that one there, with a support worker, they do need to check that the individual is doing everything they can to attend appointments for interviews, to do any training necessary, etc. If they turn their back on that, then possibly they will lose that right to have that. So it is to encourage them to make sure that they're doing that, looking to change their life eventually. The traditional model, again, the thing is in the name. You're trying to transition them through whether no work or 16 hours into maybe a career pathway. They don't
And
need support at all, but they come
uh,
in through.
yeah, so sorry, I interrupted. I've got to stop doing that. I just got a bit excited because I actually have a tenant who came in under the supported exempt accommodation. Yep. And has now gone into the transitional housing because he's found a job and he's got himself back on his feet. So really, really pleased with that. Yeah. Um,
A lot of people asking how long is the lifespan, how long they come onto these products for. And we have been told, obviously it's new for us as well, but we've been told sort of 2 to 3 years is the general life until they can go off onto their own. And obviously the whole point of this is for the government to, pay more, obviously, to help people go through a process for whatever reason they've got themselves into, where they're on either no or low income, and then take them through a pathway to sort of become self-sustaining, career maybe minded, and obviously off the benefit system. So it's a benefit to the government in the long run. That's the goal, and that's why it's here.
Yeah. So sorry, I realized that some of my that last point, gold dust value, it got cut off. So the
Mhm.
gold dust value, guys, that we are wanting to bring to the table for anybody who is interested in participating and is qualified to as well. Yeah. This is not, by the way, not necessarily a sector for beginners. Yeah, but we're here to help, which is we can do an introduction to a direct contact at management level with the housing association. Yeah. How it's structured, by the way, is that you've got the housing association and then they operate through managing agents. So a managing agent is set up and they operate through acquiring properties and expanding the portfolio through the managing agents. Now, the managing agent we are sort of under, so we're like a sub-managing agent slash social housing provider. Yeah, they are. Basically it's a family business, so we're all well looked after. Yeah, within. So it's a family business, the housing association and the management agency. There's a family relationship there, and that's how the structure would work. So, for example, we've got a contract directly with the managing agents, which gives us access to the housing association, and they are very supportive of us, sharing these housing schemes, to bring quality operators on if or landlords if interested. Okay. Now, this is a slide that actually, Trevor, you helped with this slide. It's been a while ago. So social housing, why is this sector so powerful? Do you want to go through this?
Yeah, sure. I haven't seen this slide, but yeah, absolutely. Okay, because it combines, let's see, it gives a high income expected between £2,000 to £4,000 net returns per month after deduction of all costs. So there are costs. So the main housing association, the RSL takes a percentage. Can I say what percentage that is, or we leave that for now?
I think that if
Leave
people
it for
want to
now.
participate, we'll go over the numbers in more detail
Yeah,
with
yeah,
them.
absolutely. Okay, so there's a percentage there. There's a few other small costs, and then you get a net amount, which again is very healthy to get you that net £2,000 to £4,000 a month. Yes, it does depend on the property because the location is key, and the rates do vary from location to location. That's something that the list is there, and we can help. If it falls outside of that list, it just takes a little bit of time to work that out and get those numbers for you. There is a long-term security because it's quite a long-term contract, which I'm sure that Leslie might mention again a bit later. And you're basically having a contract through an organization that has a contract with the government, so it's pretty secure. It's a booming national need, so I do believe that the fund designated by the government is going up 4 times the amount in the next through this next budget. I think it's gone up 4 times because the need is there, and they're seeing that these models are working. So, and I think that's proof in itself, really. So there are a lot of people trying to get on here, but like Leslie has said, people can't get direct to the RSL or to the managing agents because a lot of the managing agents, like the one we work with, have closed their doors to new people. So we're very fortunate that they've accepted us and people can come through us, and that's a major benefit. There's major funding streams that most of the money either comes from local government or central government and the DWP, the meaningful social impact. I think that's very much, and I'm sure you're going to hear a little bit from Leslie, but it's about giving back. It's about pe helping people who really are on the bottom run of the ladder, who really have really no hope. And this sort of model gives them a better place to live, a much better starter place, and really where people can turn their lives around and start to change. And Leslie's seen this already by some interaction that it is making a difference to people, and that for all of us is a very good feel factor because if we can make a difference to someone else's life, we've achieved so much more than just getting a bit of money in the bank. Okay, properly understood and delivered. Social housing offers one of the strongest and most stable property investment models in the UK today. What I can also say is the the rent is paid direct to the housing association, so it's coming to us and not coming through the tenants unless there's a small top up. But the majority of the money is secure and it's a very strong funding stream. Is that all right, Lizzie?
Yeah, really good. I think that because in a nutshell, once the tenants are in payment, right, and you don't need to worry about the rent essentially because you know it's going to be X amount coming through. That's a sigh of relief for for all people in property, looking for this kind of tenancy and income. And it gives you the time and also the financial buffer to actually concentrate on delivering the service and really good quality accommodation. Because in this sector, there are a lot of operators who are just in there for the money, yeah. And the accommodation standard provided is really shocking. So when I've been showing our tenants around, so I've been doing everything myself at the moment. I've actually um, first is to save on costs as well, yeah, just to be honest. And secondly, is I wanted to understand and know everything, before, and I know how to set up systems and processes for businesses, but I wanted to understand, what is needed really for the sector before we do that. So I've been on the ground of everything. And the most common, and I get it every time when we show people one of our properties, which is of a really good standard, but it's not at that service accommodation standard that we've been used to operating at, is that they're just so happy that we've got heating, so the basics, heating and properties clean, and that they are of such good standards. So there's been a bit of word of mouth amongst our tenants that have then, their friends have approached us to see whether they can also onboard the program. I look at all this, and I also have these fruit and vegetable boxes going out to the tenants every 2 weeks that I've ordered from Oddbox. Now that was just something I thought of that would, make a bit of difference, promote care, love, and healthy living. Yeah. So that goes to them every 2 weeks, and I've been sent pictures of people's food in terms of what they're making. Yeah, which has been really great for me to see. So, and once when I get these pictures that come in, I share them with the housing groups, inspire each other. Yeah. So ultimately, I guess the question now is, I'm sure you have some questions, by the way. So do send it on. I think you can make it's a Q&A. You can share sorry, ask if you have some questions, but there are sort of three main ways that you can get involved if you would like with this sector. So if you are, number one, if you are a landlord or a rent-to-rent operator, we're more than happy to introduce you into the programs, whereby we can help you secure a contract directly with the managing agent we are working with, yeah. So in a nutshell, you also become a social housing provider. Now, this is hard to get, yeah, normally, yeah. Number two is we can help source your property in the Midlands and possibly other areas, yeah, which would include a lease with the landlord who would agree for the property to be used for social housing on 3-year term, yeah. So we can help with that because the leases there are slightly different from a normal rent-to-rent contract. Yeah, the landlords in this space sort of expect a sort of full maintenance and repair lease unless you agree otherwise. Yeah. So we need to go through what's involved because the maintenance aspects are much higher, I would say, compared to normal HMO housing. But saying that, that was actually an assumption, Trevor, that we had, right? But actually, it's been, sorry, let's correct it. It's been kind of like the same.
Yeah.
It depends on
Yeah,
how your tenants look after the property, essentially.
yeah, and the laws have changed. I think it's the Amwal law, the damp and condensation that's come out, and in social housing, it was interesting. I was talking to one of the landlords, and they said, "Yeah, but if someone smashes a door, I'm not paying to fix it until they paid." And well, I can't do that, especially in social housing. I mean, not even private housing can you defer and wait till someone pays to fix it. Um, Under the Rent Act, the landlord has to repair the property immediately. And if you don't and you put delays in, then you're potentially going to lose your funding. So you need to be on top of the maintenance to make sure that any damage is fixed straight away. If it is intentional by someone, then you can go down that route or give them, sort it out with the individuals. But your responsibility is to get it fixed immediately.
Yeah. Oh, and number three is that if you want to learn how to find rent-to-rent properties for social housing, I can train you in that. Yeah. I should also add that Trevor can help if you want to learn how to secure lease options for this kind of sector as well. Trevor, do you want to explain what a lease option is, just in case people don't know what that is?
Yeah, a lease option it gives you the right to buy the property, but not the obligation. So, in normal, when you buy a property, you would exchange contracts and you're obligated to complete, otherwise, you can be sued for any losses. An option gives you the right to buy it over a particular period of time. Sometimes that can be 3 years, 5 years, or even 20 years. You agree a price for the purchase in the future, and normally you'll pay some sort of consideration going along, whether like a rent going along. Sometimes that can come off the purchase price, sometimes not, depending. It's just there to be created, if you like, and it's very, very powerful. So instead of doing a rent to rent, if somebody wants to sell their house in the next 5 years or so, an option would be really, really powerful. Really powerful. Okay, and you don't have to do, when I say a fixed price, you don't know what the market's doing in 5 years. So you could do a base price and they profit share, 20% or 80 or 50-50 on the increase thereafter, after 4 or 5 years, something like that. Okay, so if you want to know more, we can talk about it. Leslie, you have a question here. Does the
Let's
Housing
see.
Association help with the eviction?
I've just typed in an
Oh,
answer
okay,
to it.
okay.
I've just typed in the housing association, so they provide the paperwork, but you as the operator will need to perform the eviction, essentially. Um, so obviously you need the paperwork to back it up, but you would have to serve it on the tenant. Um, I've only done one so far, and that particular tenant, um, um, I can't even say tenant, licensee technically, right? He was really cooperative, and he was very nice about it all. But that's because before I even let them set foot in the property for a viewing, I get them. Okay, so this is pre qualifying your tenants, right? I make them fill out online form. If they don't do that, there's lots of questions involved, then they can't do a viewing. And if they do fill out the questions, I think there are like hold on, there are how many questions in total? Let me have a look. Um, so in total there are. I found it. 32 questions in total. If they have filled out the answers to 32 questions, I know that they are a more responsible and committed tenant of some sort, yeah, but still need to assess them. So they fill that out. And before I even let them go for a viewing, when I meet them, I tell them about my zero tolerances, which is alcohol, drugs, substance abuse in the house, yeah. And we have to be really strict because it could have a dire ripple effect if you don't keep control over that. And but it's all about building the communities because once you've built a community, I've got like a few success houses now, then they uphold your values, you know? So it's really good to see that happening like in practice because before when I was thinking it through, it was theory and then implemented it. So it's good practice now. Have we got any more questions, by the way? Because that sort of brings the webinar to a bit of an end now. Um, so let me know if you've got any more questions. Do provide do provide them. In any event, um, I this is the best way to get hold of me, guys, is through Facebook. So Facebook Messenger, that's my profile. Just feel free to message me, yeah, if you want to look at how you can get involved, or if you have some more questions that you haven't asked on this webinar. Okay, all right. Trevor, do you think that there's anything we've missed?
No, Andy's just asked a question. What's been the biggest and hardest hurdles in this method?
Um, the biggest and hardest is that there are two things. One is the compliance aspect. So even though I've run HMOs and I still run HMOs, but this is a highly regulated sector. So we're looking at very strict compliance that before, the property is approved, there's an inspection that goes on whereby an inspector from the housing association will book to come out and see your property. And the most likely outcome is that you fail that. But it might be some small things or might be some bigger things that you need to rectify. If it is a bigger issue, so for example, let's say your fire doors aren't closing properly, they'll come back to do a re-inspection. If the issues are smaller, for example, you're missing um,
Let's say a restrictor on a window. A
um,
window restrictor. You can take a picture of that.
yeah, you can take a video or a picture and send that in, but sometimes it might be really small things, such as you're missing a non-slip mat in the bathroom along with a toilet brush and cleaning materials. So, these are the things that you have to learn along the way. And I actually found that going to the inspections myself was really, really
Yeah.
beneficial. Yeah, travel came for, did you come for one or two as well? Two?
Yeah, a few, yeah, and then obviously I checked them all out. I think one of the probably the biggest learnings I think for us both is because of the compliance. What if you're doing with rent to rent or option? I think hindsight would be getting the landlord to do as much as the work to bring it up to compliance rather than just taking it on because one thing can lead to another. So the doors in particular the at the side, at the edge of the doors and the top is no more than 4 mil gap, and at the bottom no more than 8 mil, and that's quite a common thing that is missing in a lot of houses. And if you're having to do that, it can be quite costly just to make sure those gaps are there. So if you could have for the landlord make sure that you bring it up to compliance, it's going to make it a lot easier for you.
Yeah. Um, and I think that it's probably shaped the way we negotiate our rent-to-rent contracts and lease option contracts it would do.
Yeah.
It is different, slightly different terms than a normal rent-to-rent property,
Okay.
because you need time, or you or the landlord, depends on how you negotiate, needs time to re um rectify or bring that property up to standards, required compliance standards for this sector. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, question from Naomi. Are you able to select people within an age range?
It really depends. Yes, you can.
Um,
Yeah. It depends on you who you want to put into the property essentially, because you're going to be managing them. Yeah, so you can. I think what ideally like the more mature age range is quite good because people are, I wouldn't say more stable, but they tend to be a bit more responsible, etc. So But that's without discrimination to other age groups as well. I have got younger people in my houses too. I've got variety, but I sort of keep, um, you have to experiment a little bit. I've got one house which is just guys, one house which is just girls, or ladies or gents, and I've got some mixed houses. Yeah.
Yeah,
And I've got
yeah,
one that are a bit younger. I have noticed that the younger house, though, are a little bit less respectful than the other houses, so I had to keep them a bit in check.
yeah.
Yeah. So whereas the other houses are a bit more grateful, the younger house is also, it depends actually, it really depends. But yeah, there's a bit, the tone of how they speak to you is a little bit different. Yeah.
Yeah, you certainly get to sort of choose the demographic for each property, each location, not a problem at all. Andy's got another question. He says, could you provide a checklist to assist with the compliance?
Oh yeah, Trevor's put one together already, Andy. He's put a manual together, operation manual
Yeah.
together already. You'd be good. You'll be happy to know. Yeah.
It's quite easy. There is a lot. Nothing which isn't, normal, but obviously there's a fire.
Enhanced.
Yeah, yeah,
Enhanced, I would say.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. We can go through, but there's quite a lot. But with the regulation, so there's a fire risk assessment which needs to be done separately, but there's also emergency lighting certificate needs to be done separately. There's also smoke and fire alarms to be tested and certified separately. So these sort of things, obviously, there's damp, Legionellas, electric, gas, and a few other things. But yes, as we work through and people come on, then all that will be supplied. No problem at all. All right.
Actually, this is a little bit embarrassing, but I'm just going to admit it anyway. I had no idea what a Legionella report was before this. Yeah.
Water,
I
water.
know, I couldn't even pronounce it. What I was like, what's that? Yeah, but yeah, all those reports need to be, all those and yes, certificates and reports need to be in place, yeah, for
Yeah.
this model. Okay. Have we got any more questions?
No, Andy was being cheeky, but I said, yeah, I thought he might have. That's about the the manual that I've written. But
Oh, bless him.
that's it. All right.
Brilliant. Well, thank you all for attending on a Saturday. I hope that you found this webinar helpful. Yeah, and I look forward to hearing from you guys. Yeah. All right.
Take care,
Take
guys.
care now.
Bless you.
All right. Bye.
Bye bye.